Originally, I wasn't going to do a video on this battle, but I don't have a lot of time to record today. So, you're getting this. So, I had to play some Gen 4 NU for the NUPL tournament. Our slot wasn't going to be able to really have a lot of time this week. And I'm the only other person on our team that signed up for this format. So yeah, I haven't played it since 2020, but I have my bag of tricks that I can dig deep into. Got to face Viva Los Pride, one of the best players in this pool. Had a really fun game. There's some worthwhile turns to talk about and a pretty interesting endgame sequence as well worth discussing. So of course, if you enjoy this type of tournament coverage recap, make sure that you do subscribe if you'd like more. And to help support the channel, I'm on my way to 10k subs by the end of the year. And if we get 10k subs after I upload this video, hey, banger. So, couple thoughts, of course, heading into this battle. One of them, what's the scouts say about Viv's team? This is a no team preview gen. So, one of the most important parts of a scout is what person wants to lead with. What the person wants to lead with. I should speak in full sentences. And as I looked at Viv's scout, what I saw a very large amount of was lead water types. You're looking at Sharpedo and Floatzel as the best two, with I believe even seeing a like Poliwrath and Walrein in that scout too. So naturally I'm looking for teams that have a good matchup against that. Because I'm gonna be honest, I don't build this tier. I'm gonna try building it now because I want to get good at building every NU tier. But I don't really build DPP, so I'm looking at old teams that I have access to through certain means. And one of the leads that I found was a Vileplume lead team. It had a nice offensive plume lead, and I thought to myself, you know what? I dig this. Offensive plume is a very cool option. It beats up on all of those bulky water types. The team had a sleep powder as well. That's just generally going to be really solid, give you a lot of momentum turn one. I then looked a little closer at the team and decided, wow, this team has a little bit too much spice to it to make me comfortable. There was a CUSTAP Nasty Plot 3 attack Slowking, which is a good set, but not one that I would recommend. At least not to me when I'm just trying to get back into playing this tier after a long hiatus. There was a CUSTAP Ampharos as well, which I did like. And the Plume, of course, like I said, Sleep Powder lead offensive Plume. It did not have recovery, other than Giga Drain, which I also said, little difficult to justify this, I feel. Made a couple adjustments. I made the Slowking actually have Slack Off. I gave it a Colbur Berry instead of CUSTAP. Just felt a little bit more comfortable playing with that. I also ended up swapping Vileplume to be in the back instead of in the lead, and I moved Ampharos up. Because lead Ampharos is actually quite solid. It's been picking up usage for well over a year now as a lead option to, combat all of these bulky water types. And CUSTAP Ampharos lead just seemed like a really cool pick. Now, one thing there are a couple things I should have done differently in this game and just in the prep phase, I believe. And there was one thing that I do actually want to bring up because it was going to be part of the prep. I didn't make the change though because it felt a little I didn't really feel good about it. I was like, you know what? Nah, maybe it seems a little too extreme. It actually would have been though incredible this game if I made the prep change. So, let's get into this. So, of course, I have lead Ampharos here, and he leads off with a Tauros. So you may think the prep didn't work. But Ampharos is incredibly bulky. This Ampharos set does have some bulk as well. So I felt pretty good about leading off with Mr. Ampharos here. And one of the things that I probably should have changed, and this is twofold. This Ampharos is Heal Bell, which makes more sense, I believe, in the back. But as a lead, I probably would have been better off with just having Thunder Wave here. Generally just more reliable, and I believe lead Ampharos, when you're probably trading its HP and maybe trading the Mon very early in a game, it's not going to be as good. And this then goes into another Mono team. I've got a Regirock. Regirock probably would have been better off not being Rest, Toxic, Rock Slide with no Chesto Berry. I think if I'm going to then drop Heal Bell from Ampharos, you make that either like Chesto Regirock, or you pivot to a more offensive set anyway with like Rock Slide, Boom, EQ. So these are some other thoughts I had that I should have employed into the team as I, thought back after this game. Lead Ampharos here. I know I live a hit, so I take this frustration like a boss, and I get to literally pick off the Tauros turn one. The thought process on this turn was really just, hey, Tauros almost always as a lead is like some non-banded set. It's going to be like Subtoxic very frequently. And so I felt pretty good about saying, you know what? I know I will live a hit. There's also a decent chance he'll just attack anyway, predicting Regirock, or wanting to get chip on a Regirock. He's unlikely to Quake. So I say, you know what? Let's stay in. Get a great pick turn 1. This is really good. Now Chan comes out here. I go Slowking. And it's actually very good to see that this idea of a change would have been really good. Now, this team struggles to switch into Chan because all my switch-ins are offensive. The Slowking's got at least a somewhat offensive EV spread. My Vileplume still has the offensive EV spread. I just made it Synthesis instead of Sleep Powder and replaced Giga Drain with Energy Ball for more damage. And then I have a Gardevoir, which can switch in to like CC, even an Elemental Punch if it needs to, but it's not going to be checking Chan long term. Now, one of the changes I actually did consider because of all of these offensive fighting resists, knowing Chan is a great mon and a very likely bring, was actually Wakanberry Slowking. Because in my head, I'm like, T-Punch from Chan is a threat. Maybe I want to check to that. And if I'm Wakan with Psychic, I could actually, right here, it's going to get the defense drop. I could snipe that with a Psychic, live the T-Punch because of Wakanberry, and obliterate him. Instead, what I do is I overreact to the threat level of Hitmonchan here. Knowing he's still got a T-Punch here, I don't switch, even in like Ampharos, to put myself into CUSTAP range, and then have a free T-Bolt to probably just kill this. Instead, I stay in thinking to myself, oh, he don't want to Thunder Punch, and I get Thunder Punched. So obviously, bad mispredict there. I was putting too much hope into him being like CC, Mach Punch, Ice Punch, because it's always going to have Ice Punch for Plume, and then assuming Rapid Spin last. So this was a pretty bad sack by me. Of course, if I'd made that edit, I would have felt super confident in staying in here, even if there is, of course, the threat of Skuntank in the back. I would have still Psychicked, and I would have just hoped that I could outplay the Skunk on the Pursuit turn. So I sack this. I go Gardevoir here. Now, I know there's a very likely Skuntank in the back, so I double switch to my Regirock, predicting it to come out. Get a great play there. Now I get to free rocks, and then Golem comes out. Go into my Plume here, expecting just an attack, and you just see the big Quake. Now here, I don't want to risk this just booming on my Vileplume as I try to recover health. And even if Skunk comes out, I felt okay about tanking the hit the next turn. So I just Energy Ball, and I do get the turn right. He ends up giving me Golem. He may have also thought that I was going to be a much bulkier Plume, and he may have had speed to outrun me. So he would have just been able to two-shot me with the Quake anyhow. So there is that line. Skuntank comes out here, and I did run calcs. Certain skunks I live this hit from. Black Glasses, I think the calc that I ran was Black Glasses, Adamant, and it wasn't even guaranteed to KO this. It was like 51 to 59 or something was the damage roll. Around there. So in their favor, but I'm thinking to myself, there's just no way he's that set. So I definitely either have a great chance of living here if he goes for Crunch, or I just always live. So I stay into Synthesis, and unfortunately he gets a very dirty crit. Very important there. I could have still swapped Regirock, and that would have always been safe. Like, Regirock could always come out, but I wanted to try and, again, I want HP, because I am very worried about this Chan. Having Rocks up is going to help, and he's, at this point, in my eyes, 100% not even Rapid Spin Chan. So I'm feeling pretty confident about my ability to take it down. But I would, really like to have the CC switch. Even if the play is literally just pivot out Vileplume and, like, double the amp. Hoping that I live an Ice Punch from 50, which I'd have to calc, but maybe I do. So anyhow, I go Chan here because CC is a big threat. So I just throw off a CC here, and it's going to do a lot of damage. He goes King. Now, I can Thunder Punch his Slowking, but he's a much bulkier King. I'm also not Life Orb. I am, I think, Fist Plate. So he ends up eating it, but he doesn't have Psychic, thankfully. So that's really good. He may have also predicted Ampharos and just wanted a little more chip, but I get off a huge hit here. Then I Ice Punch just to show him, you know what, I've got Ice Punch. Don't go into your Vileplume in the back, which he would never have. At this point, actually, I guess not this point in the game, but in a few turns, something you got to start thinking about is, okay, what's the last one? Think about in your head right now, while we're getting to that turn, what possible mons you could have in the back. If you're thinking about DPP NU, go look up at the VR if you need to. We've gotten our NU sub form and old gens sub form. And the valuability ranking starts there. So what backmon would make sense here? Anyhow. So of course Chan versus his Chan. At this point, I don't really have a pivot. My best option here is to go Gardevoir. So I do end up actually going Ampharos instead, because I'm dumb like that. Now, you may wonder why I went Ampharos. My thought process here was, well, he probably won't CC. Mach would kill me because I got the defense drop. It means he doesn't have to play around with speed stuff at all. And Ampharos will tank the Mach if he goes for it. You'd also see here if Ice Punch came out ever versus Amph, I do not tank it. But Thunder Punch, I would have tanked it okay. Thunder Punch, actually, I'm trying to think math real quick. So that's 40. Iron Fist boosts up to like 48. It's like 72 base power. And a Thunder Punch is like 80 something divided by half. I think Thunder Punch may have still put me in my berry range, but I'm not entirely sure. I might have been like right out of it, which would have sucked. Whereas I go Amph hoping for Mach because this puts me in CUSTAP range. I'm not really good. So here, I end up actually switching into my Gardevoir, now knowing another Mach Punch will probably just come out because he just wants to make sure that I die. Now here, this is when I unfortunately game too close to the sun. I actually pull the fabled triple switch, predicting him to go Skunk. This is like, okay, you see my full team. You know this Hitmonchan is like one turn away from running down the rest of my build. So I actually bring out on the triple switch my Chan, predicting him to go out to Skunk. And you may wonder, okay, well, why didn't you go Regirock instead? Well, I think he actually predicted that, maybe. Because he CC'd. He obviously predicted a switch. I think he was wanting to catch Regirock here. Because of his Backmon. Which, this is also where I'm starting to think, okay, well, he makes this play. That Backmon probably wants Regirock gone, right? Also, again, like I said, why'd I go Chan instead of Reggie? I think Reggie's a little too exploitable, even if he does end up going Skunk, because he could easily bring Chan back out. And I don't want him to get more turns to Free Fire. Even if I can still go Gardevoir and tank, like, a CC, I'm going to take so much. And if he Ice Punches or Thunder Punches Gardevoir, it's going to die to Mach the next turn, which isn't very good. So, that's why I went Chan. Now, here I go Gardevoir. Knowing now I can Thunderbolt and KO it, he does go Skunk here. Now, this I really liked as a play. I know I need Gardevoir to win this game. I have to have it around or else Chan is going to be too much of a problem. And I don't want to... Well, obviously, I was going to say I don't want to burn CUSTAP with Ampharos. It literally doesn't work like that. Shout out to the commenters talking about how CUSTAP Berry is not giving you priority. It lets you move first in your priority bracket. So I'm still +0 priority on the T-Bolt. But I would always go first against other non-priority moves. Y'all get that. Y'all get that. Y'all are smart. Y'all are smart. Here's my thought process. I know I have to keep Gardevoir around to win. He probably knows that too. He knows that he knows that if Gardevoir goes down, he wins the game. Because he knows that, he ends up suckering because in his mind, he's gonna not want to risk getting pursuit trapped. Because if he's pursuit trapped, well, he loses the game. Because then, channel clean. I believe he's gonna think like that. He's gonna say, nah, it's too obvious that I'd stay in an attack again. It's a 50-50 at the end of the day, right? But in my mind, I'm like, he knows that I don't want to get pursuit trapped here, so I might stay in a T-Bolt. So I'm gonna predict the Sucker Punch, swap to my Regirock, and it works. He ends up suckering. I get a free safe, and now he goes for a free safe switch, and he goes for Boom here just to get chipped, because again, what might this last mon be? Chan comes out again. Chan could get its KO here, and I end up deciding, you know what, this is an okay sack. Ends up being not an okay sack. Oh, I should have probably sacked Ampchungus here. I think that was always a little bit leaner. Although maybe not. Regardless, I sack Regirock. I'm just like, you know what? This is probably the least consequential play. Now I get Gardevoir in. Now here. This is where like the true thinking of what the last mon is gonna be comes in. Because Gardevoir is either killing Hitmonchan or something is switching into my move. Nothing else can happen here. And so I'm thinking, I'm like, well, what mon could be a problem in the back? What mons are likely that he would have preserved this long based on the team? My mind ended up going to Driftblim. I think having a secondary fighting check on his team would just be really, really helpful. And I believed as well, knowing Viv, he brings a lot of Driftblim. Meganium was another mon that could have been there, and honestly, Meganium probably would have won the game for him if it was his last. But I ended up banking on it being Blim. Now, what move should I go for here? Well, if you guess Thunderbolt, yeah, probably was the best move. I end up Psychicking, which is honestly not really that great, but frankly, given what his set ends up being, which we'll talk about at the end, I think, honestly, T-Bolt would have run into the same issue anyhow. Anyhow, Drifblim comes out now. Now here, my mentality is entirely that he's sub. And this is where I kind of realized, wait, I probably should have gone for T-Bolt, right? I realized, wait, T-Bolt would have been so much better because I calc it versus the standard, just really offensive substitute Drifblim. And T-Bolt killed. 75 min. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, there's a couple things here. He either CMs or he Shadow Balls. For some reason, I'm not predicting sub at all in this, by the way. But I'm thinking to myself, okay. Honestly, if he was sub, it may have not even been the end of the world. Because there's still, well, let me think about that. If he subbed here, and I swapped Ampharos, for example, which is what I end up doing, by the way. I T-Bolt, I always have the CUSTAP. I go faster. Yeah, no, I lost if that happened. Wow. Yeah. It could have been bad. Ignore that. He could have been Resto Chesto as well. There's a lot of things Drifblim runs. Which is why, again, T-Bolt was always best here. I want to emphasize that point. T-Bolt is what I should have gone for. But so now I have to think, like, is he going to CM or Shadow Ball? There were other options that could have been in here, but I'm predicting between these two for me. And I'm like, okay, well, if he CMs up, and I Psychic again, I always lose. If he Shadow Balls, I'm fine. If I go Amp or stay in, probably. Based on what I'm thinking, Pinch Berry, or not even Pinch Berry, just Berry plus Calm Mind. So I decide, you know what? Let's go Ampharos here. Because no matter what he does, Ampharos kills, and he goes for Calm Mind. And I T-Bolt. Amp Chungus did it for me. I win. Yeah. And he did say GG as well. I don't know why it doesn't appear here. But you know what's really funny about all of this? Two things. One, Substitute would have owned me. Would have owned me. I would have lost a sub, more than likely. He just subs up, he Calm Minds, and I don't have counterplay. He'll sub into his Unburden range, and it's wraps. What's the funniest is he was Endure. It was not really what you see on Blim a ton. Usually you do see Substitute because you want to play around Skuntank a lot more effectively. And Sub lets you, you know, predict around Sucker Punch turns. Endure technically does that for you because you can Endure on a predicted Sucker. It gives you more room as well as if you mispredict on a Crunch, you can still Endure on that turn and you won't die. But if he Endured here, I lost still. And he just did it. Now, there was technically an out. I think the bigger thing at play here was just that he didn't Shadow Ball as I swapped. But the calc wasn't that he guaranteed killed Gardevoir, even if he was fully offensive. So if he was a bulkier Drifblim, there's a high chance that the reason he Calm Minded was that he lived a T-Bolt decent amount of the time. And that he just didn't think I'd stay. No, I'm gonna say he probably CM thinking either the swap and he didn't predict CUSTAP, obviously. He even said he should have scouted CUSTAP. But my thought process there is he may have CM'd because he thought with his EVs he had a good shot to live the T-Bolt. Or that he predicted a swap. Those are the only two reasons. And since he's Endure, of course, there's no sub. He's gonna have 2 attacks. All of that to say, both Viv and I kind of played this endgame a little suboptimally, to say the least. But I was able to break our team's curse. I even said in my win post, broke the curse, because our team has won a combined 2 games of past gens for NU. Not doing the greatest. Our current gen not Sun and Moon, God, I wish. Our current gen Scarlet Violet NU core is really popping off. So that's been really nice to see. But I was able to help us get a win this week. Felt pretty good to sub in and do this. Shoutouts to Viv again. Great player. He's 2-1 now after 2 very funny weeks. Hacks the hell out of his opponent week 1 and it just had a close game week 2. But I hope y'all enjoyed. As I said, subscribe if you like this tour coverage. I've already thought about this, like when I do hit 10k subscribers, what do I want to do for the 10k special? Because I think 10k is just a very nice milestone to upload something fun for y'all. And I was actually considering a video titled "The Most Important Tournament of My Competitive Pokemon Life," where I look at my 2020 DPP NU Cup run and what it meant for me as my competitive player identity. Because by that point, I had never won a singles tournament. I had come close in 2019 ADV Cup, I believe. I made semifinals, and I ended up losing to Chill Shadow, which I was really sad about, because me and Rosary both wanted to meet in finals. We were both in semis, and we lost. But DPP NU Cup was my first shot to ever win a singles tournament. And also winning it meant I would qualify for the Classic playoffs. And given I am definitely a Bastions player at heart, I don't know. If y'all want to see that, hey, get everyone you know to subscribe. You'll get that at 10K. But thanks for watching. I'll catch y'all next time. Peace.